never look at a plastic toy the same way again, because the biggest toy empire on Earth was actually built on deep bankruptcy, a tragic death, and two massive fires. What do cloud computing, billions of dollars, and a random wooden dog from 1930s have in common? I bet you don't have a clue. Today, we are looking at the insane true story of a guy who had the absolute worst luck in human history. But somehow used it to build a company that literally shaped your childhood. It all starts in Denmark with a regular carpenter named Ole Kirk Christensen. And let me tell you right now, this guy did not have it easy. The world at that time was basically swimming in a massive mess. The world was swimming in shit after the stock market crash in 1929. The Great Depression tightened its grip around the entire globe. It dragged everything down with it. It destroyed banks, it wiped out massive businesses, and it crushed ordinary families who suddenly had no work, no savings, and absolutely no clue how they were going to pay for food the next day. Keep in mind, people back then didn't have apps to bail them out. They didn't have Venmo to ask a friend for 20 bucks. They didn't have side hustles they could do on a laptop. I got holes in my shoes and I'm way overdue. Down payment blues. Because of this, it was almost inevitable that Ole's carpentry business would take a massive hit. Think about it. People weren't exactly thinking about buying shiny new tables or custom chairs. They were thinking about how to stretch a few coins into a single meal for their kids. Furniture was completely off the radar. I don't know about you, but if the global economy crashes tomorrow, remodeling my living room is definitely not on my priority list. As the months drag on, the orders in Ole's shop slowed to a trickle and then to absolutely nothing. Customers stopped showing up. With zero cash coming in, he was forced to look his workers in the eyes and let his entire staff go one by one until the workshop that used to buzz with loud saws, hammering, and daily conversation went completely terrifyingly quiet. If you ever refresh your bank app 3 times, hoping the number magically change, you already know that kind of silence hits different. Now, I want you to imagine standing there alone in that massive space. You are surrounded by heavy tools and huge scraps of wood. You know there's no new work lining up, and there is absolutely no cash on the way. Outside your door, the economy is spiraling, and everyone in your town is stressed, broke or both. Inside is just you and the crushing weight of it all, trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next to survive. It's giving the exact same energy as doom scrolling on your phone at 2 in the morning. Except back then there was no social media algorithm to blame, and there was no hyper-specific music playlist to soundtrack your breakdown. It was just raw, quiet reality. Just when you think it cannot possibly get worse for this guy, it goes from bad to absolutely brutal in a single heartbeat. His wife suddenly dies. The one person who shared the weight of all this stress, the person who stood by his side while the business crumbled, is just gone. She leaves him completely alone with 4 young sons who depend on him for everything. At the exact same time, his business is already 6 feet under. It is exactly like life suddenly flipped the game to expert mode with absolutely zero warning, and now he's expected to carry all of that weight at the exact same time, like it's just a normal Tuesday. There is no space to grieve properly when you are staring at a stack of unpaid bills, an empty workshop, and young children who still need dinner and reassurance. The weight stacks up all at once, yet he has no choice but to keep moving forward. He has to be a father and a businessman, even when every single bone in his body must have felt completely exhausted. But Ole wasn't the kind of man who just gives up and walks away when things fall apart. He refused to quit. Instead of staring at the useless stock of furniture piling up around him, he took a hard look at what he actually had. He grabbed the leftover wood that nobody wanted, looked at his empty shop, and basically decided to make toys. Let me explain the logic here, because it is actually brilliant. He figured that if people couldn't afford to buy a dining room table, maybe they could still afford something very small, something simple, something that makes their kids smile during a really hard time. It is the classic survival move. You just work with what you've got and whatever is available to you. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you really have to lose? So he started turning scrap wood into yo-yos, little cars, and eventually the wooden dog I was talking about at the beginning of that video. He carved and sanded every single piece out of material that would have otherwise gone straight to the trash. By doing that, he slowly managed to keep the business breathing. Because he was pivoting to toys, he needed a fresh name for the new project. He played around with some words and chose the name Lego. He got this by mashing up the Danish word let God, which simply translates to play well. He chose the name in Danish, totally unaware of any deeper meaning. He just thought it sounded catchy, and yet, in Latin the word Lego translates to I put together, a phrase that perfectly describes what the company would become long before it actually built a single interlocking brick. Let that sink in. When you step back and think about that alignment, the odds feel microscopic. It is the kind of coincidence that makes you pause mid-sentence, replay it in your head and wonder how the universe works. It's wild, isn't it? Even though they were just making cheap wooden toys to survive, Ole was deeply obsessed with quality. There is a famous story about his son, Godfred, working in the shop. Godfred was trying to cut costs and save the business some money. He decided to slap only 2 coats of lacquer on a batch of wooden dogs instead of the usual 3. He figured nobody would notice the difference. The paint looked fine, and the savings would really add up over time. Godfred actually goes to his dad and brags about it. He is proud of himself. He says something along the lines of how he just saved them real money today and made a smart business move. But Ole is not impressed, not even a little bit. To Ole, that is not being efficient. That is cutting corners, and cutting corners on something a customer is paying their hard-earned money for is a hard no. Because in Ole's book, cheating a customer is an absolute disgrace. It is flat out wrong. His personal motto was, only the best is good enough. That was it, no debate. So he makes Godfred go to the train station, unpack every single box of dogs, bring them back to the shop, and put the last coat of paint on them himself. It is the most old school, teach you a hard lesson move unimaginable. Sorry, I can't be perfect. Okay, but remember, Godfred was literally just a kid back then, trying to help his struggling dad. What did you expect him to do? Drop a comment below and tell me what would you have done in his situation to help the family business survive. By the late 1930s, after years of this endless grind, they were finally putting in a real profit. Lego was actually doing alright. The wooden toys were selling well. Even when the Second World War broke out, they tried to make the best out of a difficult situation. And it seemed like they were finally going to be okay. But then, in 1942, a storm rolls in. A massive fire breaks out in the workshop. It burns the entire operation to the ground. It takes every single drawing, every model, and every prototype with it. It leaves nothing but ash. It feels like a sick joke because they were finally making real money, only to have the universe kick them in the teeth and erase years of hard grinding in a single night. Right when they were starting to stand on their own 2 feet, they were pushed back to zero. For a moment, Ole was ready to just throw in the towel. The fire had taken it all. It would have been easy to stop right there and find a normal job, but his kids refused to let him sink into the wreckage. They pushed him to start over, so with his kids backing him up, he started again. He rebuilt the entire factory from the ground up. In 1947, Ole makes a massive power move. He drops a total fortune on a plastic injection molding machine. To understand how crazy this was, you have to realize he was one of the first people in all of Denmark to even touch this technology. Plastic was brand new, it was expensive to set up, and nobody knew if kids even wanted plastic toys. Think about how risky this is. Don't you think it's smarter to just play it safe? Don't you think it's better to just stick with what you already know, like wood? Picture Ole sitting in his office in 1947. There is no YouTube, there are no business podcasts, there are no threads online telling you how to scale your startup in 30 days. In an era where your only business advice comes from old books or a random guy in a train, spending all your money on an unproven plastic machine is pure insanity. You tell me, isn't this the exact opposite of being data-driven? He started out making little plastic bears and baby rattles. Everyone around him rolled their eyes. People told him that wood was noble and aesthetic, while plastic was just a cheap, ugly disgrace. People judged him hard. You can almost hear the judgment in their voices, treating him like he just wore sweatpants to a royal wedding. And he basically brushed them off and kept working. It wasn't until LEGO launched a plastic model of a grape farm tractor that the plastic toys finally took off and started making real money. Clearly, there was a massive market out there that was ready to embrace plastic. Then, in 1954, Godfrey takes a business trip to England. While he is there, he ends up talking to the head of a massive shopping center. This store buyer is totally fed up with the toy industry. He complains to Godfrey saying that toys are no good nowadays because there is no system in anything. Kids buy a toy, get bored, and throw it in the closet. You can almost see Godfrey's brain pausing for half a second, like a frozen video call. He can't get the word system out of his head. He spends days repeating it like a mantra. Finally, he realizes that instead of just handing kids a finished product, they need a cohesive structure. They need something that forces them to engage their imagination and build something from scratch. So, in 1955, they dropped the LEGO system of play like it's the next big thing. They run ads talking about how kids can build whole towns and whole houses. Everyone is super excited, except there is one tiny, massive detail they forgot. The bricks had zero grip. They had the structural integrity of a house of cards sitting in a wind tunnel. You could stack them up, but if you breathe near the model, it collapsed like it just lost the will to live. They were completely hollow underneath, meaning they just rested on top of each other. Godfrey got fixated on this problem. He kept messing with the design, drawing up different blueprints until he had a massive light bulb moment. He realized that if you put small tubes inside the bottom of the hollow bricks, it unlocked this wild friction. The tubes pressed against the studs on top of the other bricks. This created a tight grip that made everything snap together exactly the way it was supposed to. But it was also loose enough that a kid could easily pull them apart. This right here changed the entire game for LEGO. Up to that point, it was basically just a stack of loose blocks you could pile up and hope it stayed put. Once the clutch power hit, it stopped just being a box of parts and turned into a real infinite construction system. A kid could take the exact same set of bricks, snap them into a house, tear it down, build a car, and then build some wild alien spaceship that only makes sense in their head, and it will all hold together perfectly. Before the clutch power upgrade, those bricks wouldn't stay together to save their lives. Kind of like Oasis in the 90s.
But don't look back in anger. Don't look back in anger.
Then, the story gets heavy again. Ole dies before he ever gets to see how massive the plastic brick is about to become, which is honestly tragic when you think about how much pain and effort he put into it. He built the foundation, he took all the heat, He pushed through the doubt of everyone around him, and he never got to take the final victory lap. Now, the entire company is on Godfrey's shoulders.
You got the touch. You got the power.
And just when you think this family might finally catch a break, the year 1960 throws another fire at him. At that point, it feels deeply personal. It feels like the universe just keeps stress testing the exact family on purpose. You ever get that same old problem, knocking twice and think, wow, we really doing rerounds now? Seriously, this time the fire only took out the wood division of the factory. It felt almost symbolic, like a sign from above. Instead of rebuilding the wooden toy factory out of stubborn pride, Godfrey stood there in the ashes, processed the massive loss, and made the hardest call of his life. He decided that the wood era was done. There would be no more legacy toys. He was going all in on plastic. Full commitment, absolutely no looking back. Sometimes, everything you know needs to burn down to the ground so you can finally find the right path forward. And the crazy part is, that is only half of the LEGO story. Drop a comment below if you want me to make part 2. Fast forward to right now. Look what showed up at my door today from the Google Developer Experts team. An exclusive LEGO building set. 231 pieces to build a full creator studio setup, which is honestly kind of fire. I wonder where are the instructions? And this is where we find the answer to the dog question. The wooden dog was the starting point. A small, practical toy carved out of leftover wood during a rough season. And from that humble grind, LEGO slowly transitioned from shaping wood by hand to engineering plastic bricks that could snap together with precision and actually hold. Cloud worked off the same blueprint. Instead of wood or plastic, you get services, APIs, storage, compute, messaging, all modular, all stackable. And the real skill is knowing how to combine them into something that actually solves a problem, instead of just looking impressive on paper. There isn't one rigid diagram everyone follows. You architect based on context, constraints, budget, scale, and you iterate until it holds up, which feels a lot of like snapping bricks together until the build finally clicks and stands on its own. Sending me this gift without any instructions is a statement. Google is telling me I already know enough to get started, and I don't need my hand held through every step, especially when live documentation is nowhere to be found. It's reminding me that we must be resourceful and find quick and clever ways to overcome difficulties, just like Ole and Godfrey did every time life threw them a curveball. I guess that was the point all along. Unless you're a cloud architect, then yes, please have the blueprint clear from the beginning. Do not just build random stuff without a plan. That will be a total disaster.